It's playoff time, Uber and High. We've got 5 teams to cover that are moving on to the next level, and we are ready to dive in. Your Tanner playoff preview starts right now. Welcome inside the WPMC studios as we get you set for our Tanner playoff preview. Alongside Haadi Bilal and Zeke Altman, I am Joey Motroni. Now, as mentioned in the top of the show, we've got 3 full teams and some select track athletes moving on to their next level of competition. Gentlemen, I believe we will start with boys hockey. They come into the postseason with a record of 12-5-1, and they will be playing Lowell Catholic in the first round of the MIA Division II boys hockey tournament tomorrow at 7 o'clock, home at the O'Brien Ice Rink.
Yeah, Joey, and their team has been great this year, but a cold streak of late. But I want to talk about this team overall. You go from the seniors, Jack Parise, Matt Mahoney, Logan Roderick, and then you go to the younger players like the Avery Powers, like the Luke and Matt Hughes. This team is versatile from senior to sophomore, and a couple freshmen actually as well. So I just love the future for this team, but of course, focus on the incredible playoff run that should be coming for them and Coach Duran and his boys. Haadi?
Yeah, no, I think you just nailed it with saying how versatile this team is. There's quite a lot of talent all across the board on the roster, but when you mentioned how we had a great streak in the beginning of the season, I was fortunate enough to attend the Reading game, and Reading was highly ranked at that point, and we handled them pretty well. But as of late, we've had a little bit of a cold streak going, winning only 1 game in the last 5 games and tying with Arlington, actually. So that was all regular season, but now we're going into the postseason, and I think atmospheres change and everything becomes different, and I think the team is ready to handle that.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to your point, Haadi. This team, like you said, in that Reading game, they were on a hot streak, beating teams like by 4 or 5 goals early in the season. Of course, of late, that's dipped down, but they need to bring it back. Against Lowell Catholic, Joey, that is the time where they can get their rhythm back and continue it on.
Yeah, Zeke, especially looking at this matchup, it might look like the Lowell Catholic team may be outnumbered with the 4-29, with the Tanners being 4 and Lowell Catholic coming in at rank 29. But when you get to tournament time, the numbers really don't matter what's in front of your title. It's just whether or not you can go out and get a win that time out on the ice.
Yeah, Joey, and like you said, tournament time. It's about when you go on that ice on Wednesday night. When you go on that ice, you deliver. You lock it in and you deliver, because some teams can't figure that out. We've seen so many upsets in high school athletics and high school sports. We'll talk about basketball later, but I'll give you an example. 32 seed Winchester knocked out number 1 seed Catholic Memorial in the first round last year. So Woburn have to be careful, even though they are so highly ranked.
Absolutely. And again, as we approach the beginning of this game, there are 2 guys that I'm looking out for to make an impact. Those are the 2 leading point getters for this Tanner hockey team up to this point. They're both juniors. That'll be Jack McElhenney and Jack Lee. McElhenney coming into this tournament game at 11 goals and 26 assists to lead the team in 37 points. And then you've got Jack Lee, who is the leading goal getter with 21 goals and 14 assists.
Yeah, I think it just really shows where the talent is on the ice and how they can display the puck, display their talent on the ice on tomorrow night. And fortunately for them, I think they all realize this is the postseason. We got to play better now. This is the time we need to gear up and deliver our best. It might be the early rounds. It might be not as tough opponents, but it's something special about the atmosphere of playing in the postseason that you can't really replicate in the regular season, even with tougher opponents in the regular season. So if you can win those first few games, and then the competition gradually gets tougher as you get on with on the bracket, then overall it's I think that we're here for a great postseason.
Yeah, Haadi, they're a really deep team, and Zeke mentioned a couple of members from each class earlier, and then those 2 juniors in McElhenney and Lee. So a lot of different people making an impact on this team. But one of the more integral parts of the team has been Logan Roderick, the starting goalie for the Tanners. And I know, Haadi, you got the opportunity to speak with Logan yesterday afternoon.
All right, Logan Roderick, glad to be here with you. So, congratulations on making the tournament for Woburn Hockey. Before we get into any detailed questions, I want to ask you, since you're playing Lowell Catholic as they're the 29th seed, you guys are the 4th seed. What do you think about heading into this matchup?
Obviously, we're really pumped up to be here playing against Lowell Catholic in the first round of the playoffs. From everything we've heard about them, they're a great team. They're gonna give it all they got when we play them at home on Wednesday. So, we're just gonna come into the mindset that they're the best team in the league, and we're just gonna play the hardest we can.
Yeah. So, if you take a look back to the last few games of the regular season, you've kind of been on a little cold few last games. We're only getting 1 win in the last 5 regular season games. Is that going to affect you in any way, or the team during this playoff game?
No, I really think that those games are the games that we lost. They're definitely going to help us out. Teach us a little bit of diversity. We're going to take those losses, and we're going to take what we learned from those losses, and we're going to translate into a win. And we're going to come out strong.
All right, yeah. And so, moving on to something more personal, what was the most favorite moment of the season so far from your perspective?
That's a tough question. I gotta say that my most favorite part of the season so far is just getting to play with some of these underclassmen. They're a great group of kids, and I know that in the next few years when this team's going to be developing, and this team's going to be also hopefully in the playoffs and doing well, that we're going to have a good group of kids that are going to play hard for Woburn.
All right, thank you, Logan Roderick, for that, and go back to Joey.
Thank you for that, Haadi. That was absolutely fantastic. And once again, a huge thank you to Logan Roderick. And we can only wish the best of luck for Logan in his matchup with Lowell Catholic later on. And now we'll transition to the other side of the ice with the girls hockey team. They will be also in a playoff matchup. They're coming in as the lower seed. They'll be going against Westwood tomorrow night as well. This girls hockey team comes in with a young team, so the future looks bright. But again, Haadi, they have a history as well.
Yeah, no, I wanted to point out how this program was unbelievable the last few years, that they were back-to-back state champions in 2017 and 2018. And I remember a personal experience of mine when being in Woburn Center after they won, and they came back from the Garden, and they were circling the Woburn Center, and it was a great time. So, I mean, they can use that to their advantage in the back of their heads, that this is a possibility for us. Even as the seed that they are, they can work from down low and be the underdog in this story. But overall, I think, like I said with the boys hockey team, how it's about it's different when the postseason comes around.
Yeah, 100% Haadi. And led by Ella Spinazzola, Emmy Flavin, Kate Sullivan, they can pull off an upset here. I believe they can go into Westwood and get it done. Like you said, the history. They have the DNA. They have the Woburn Tanner pride. So with that Tanner pride, they can go into Westwood and they can get it done. I'm very excited to see how they can do and how they can transition it into maybe a playoff run of their own, Joey.
Yeah, especially with a young team. They're going to come in with nothing to lose, a chip on their shoulder, and want to put 110% effort into getting to that next round if the upset is successful. So we'll see how they come out tomorrow, but the energy will be at 110%.
100%, Joey. I cannot wait to hear that. And hockey is looking bright for the Tanners here in Woburn.
Now let's move on over from the ice to the track. Now, of course, the two team sports we just talked about, but now some individuals who have stood out over the start of the season, Haadi.
Yeah, I know. What we've seen so far is sort of the leadership we've seen from our captains, Kayla Bubak, Grace Batista, Riley Power. And, track's one of those sports where it is an individuality sport. You're only doing events for your own self, apart from relays. But when it all comes together, it's really a team sport when all the points are counted at the end. So what you're doing is it's one of the greatest team sports in the world, because you do your own part to help the entire team. And that's what we've seen with the leadership from those captains and how they've given their all on the track.
100% Haadi, and winning the Liberty Middlesex League Championship, tying Lexington and winning the Middlesex whole league championship, and going into Reggie Lewis and winning that state relay championship, as well as coming second in the state championship meet. It's just been an incredible season for Coach James Fletcher and his girls. At that state relay meet, Joey, the first 4 events the Woburn girls won. The shuttle hurdles qualified for nationals. The shuttle dash got first place. The 4x8 got first place, and the SMR got first place. Of course, that streak ended with a 4x2 where they only got second place. But it's just been an incredible season. Like you said, Kayla Bubak, who's been incredible. We go to the hurdles where Grace Bautista has been incredible, and Nicole Ganji, Kaylee Curl, Grace Bautista, and Caitlin Clark. Those four are going to be special at that national championship. You have that relay going. You have the 4x800 going, 4x200 going, 4x400 going. I could go on and on and on about how many teams are going to that national championship because, boy, it is special, Joe.
Zeke, they made the impact for their teams all throughout the season, and now as that group of four, they get their opportunity to shine on the national stage.
100%, Joey. I am so excited to see how they do, and our own man Haadi caught up with Kayla Bubak earlier today.
I'm here joined with Kayla Bubak, and congratulations on all you've done this season. It's quite impressive. I want to ask you a few questions. So, how have you felt about your season so far?
It's been good. We had a lot of team accomplishments. We won a couple good meets and did good.
Yeah, that's great. And I heard you committed to Richmond. So, how do you feel about that commitment?
I'm very excited. I really liked the campus and all the girls on the team and the coaching staff. It was really nice.
Yeah, and what can you say about the coaching of your team this season?
It's been good. They know what they're doing. They've helped us get to where we are as a team.
Great. And what does it mean to you to make nationals individually and in a relay?
It's super fun. I think it shows how much we've all worked individually and obviously as a team for making multiple events.
All right, then that's going to do it here. Back to Joey.
We're back on the track now as we'll take a look at the boys' side of things. Zeke, there have been some more individuals who have stood out up to this point in the season.
Yeah, and before I talk about the individual, Joey, it's been an incredible season for the boys' team. From finishing dead last in the state a couple of years ago, now moving up to the top half, and the future is so bright. This team has been incredible from the hurdles to the mid-distance, to the distance, to the field events. It's just been a great season, but let's focus more on the individuals. You have Carlin Dizio, a freshman, in his first year qualifying for freshman nationals. It's been incredible with a 600-meter time of 1:31 by 2 seconds qualifying for the freshman national championship this year. And then you go into the hurdles. Boy, Nick Kramer's been special. 7.61 in the 55-meter hurdles, breaking a school record held by Elijah George in 2018. And then the shuttle hurdles. Anthony Chisulo, Darren Wandera, Dawit Kalubia, and also Nick Kramer. They have qualified for the national championship. Those two individuals, along with that relay, really representing the boys. So proud. It's showing, Haadi, how much of a future this team has.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Like you just mentioned, how we came from how low in the rankings to coming up all the way up to, I think it was 11th in those, what was it, the relays?
Yep.
Yeah. But I wanted to emphasize the growth that they've had. I mean, they had the record that was, I think, 1 win just a few years ago, and then eventually leading up to 2 wins, 3 wins, 5 wins, and then I think it was 4 or 5 wins, somewhere around there. But it's just the growth. It's been a linear growth, and especially with the younger boys on the team, and just overall, the future looks bright.
100%, Joey.
Coming off that record, Haadi, I know that it's been an incredible season for Nick Kramer, and I know you got the chance to catch up with him earlier this week.
I'm here joined with Nicholas Kramer. Congratulations on the season you've had so far. First question I want to ask you, how have you felt about your season so far?
I'd say it's gone about as well as it could have. Been a pretty long season, put a lot of work in. The whole entire team's done a lot better than we thought, so overall I'm just proud. Happy to have a good season.
Yeah, so I know you've broken a record here in the school, so how does it feel like breaking a record for the school?
Going into this year, obviously that was the goal. I knew I could do it eventually. It took until second to last race of the year pretty much. So, I'm just kind of relieved I got it over with, and now I can look forward to nationals.
Yeah, that's great. And so what do you feel about the coaching of the team this year?
The coaches are always great. They're a lot of fun. Give me a lot of good advice, always there. It'd be nice to have some of them both seasons, but, they're always there. They help me out. They got me a lot better, so I can't complain.
Yeah. And one more question. So what does it mean for you to make nationals individually, but also in a relay?
Since last year we got to do it, the relay's always been pretty important. But individually this year is pretty cool that I can say I'm going there by myself and not because my teammates. So pretty happy with that.
All right, thank you, Nicholas Kramer, and we're going to go back to Joey.
Thanks again, Haadi, and good luck to Nick as he goes on to the next portion of his season with the relay and also some individual events as well. And now we'll round it out with a team that we're very familiar with in Woburn girls basketball. They ended their season with a 16-4 record, and they will take on Peabody Veterans Memorial High School in the first round of their action. Peabody came away with a victory on Tuesday night over Beverly. Haadi, we were doing season-long coverage of this girls basketball team. What are some things that stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've seen was the 50 straight Middlesex League victories over 3 years, and they've been undefeated in the Middlesex League for several years now. And I believe that's something, a feat that is not easy at all. I think that's something historical. But they transitioned from that and going to the Comcast tournament. And the Comcast tournament was a little rough. They had 2 losses there, but I think it showed the team that this is what a postseason type of it feels like in a postseason sort of atmosphere, and they got an idea what it's like. So now they're going into the actual MIA playoffs with that in mind. So I think what we're going to see next is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Joey, I believe the weakness of this team this year has been the consistency overall from the girls, whether it be McKenna Morrison, Shannon McCarthy, Jalen Cuniff, Riley Morgan. They just need to be more consistent. They've been in a little slump of late when it came to the Central Catholic. Bishop Fenwick lost his last weekend in the Comcast tournament, but a game against Peabody Veterans Memorial could be the team that gets them back into their rhythm, back into winning games, hitting big shots, because if they win this game, they could be facing a tough Andover team in the second round, Joe.
Yeah, Zeke, especially looking at those 2 consecutive losses, the tournament itself is kind of a way for the Tanners to wipe the slate clean. Zeke, you mentioned some of the players that have made an impact up to this point in the season, but I think something that the Tanners have been lacking consistently as well is a third option. Who do you think are some of the third options we could see as we head into the tournament?
Yeah, and Joey, to add on to your point, that third option it's been vacant for a while now, and it's something that is a necessity if this Tanners team wants to go far. Of course you have McCarthy, of course you have Morrison, but who can be that third option? The name that comes to mind for me is Brooke Tuzelo. Brooke Tuzelo, in those weekend games last week, she came up big, had that buzzer beater 3, had 2 other 3s in that game. She can be a sharpshooter. She can play defense. A junior in Brooke Tuzelo can come up big if the Tanners want to go far. Haadi, who do you have in mind?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was looking towards Brooke Tuzelo as well. I think that you need that sort of cohesiveness on the court for everything to work together, and having that ball discipline and find the right opportunities to get the ball right where it needs to be. I think she'd be a great fit for that. I also wanted to look at a macro point of view and how you're not playing as tough as an opponent as you had the last 2 games in the first round with Peabody, but it's like an opportunity to get the ball rolling. So you can get 1 win in the postseason that can roll into the next, and you can carry that momentum as far as you can. And we've seen that they went to the Final Four last year, and they couldn't really make it past then, but you could feel the ball was rolling through the postseason up until that point.
Yeah, 100%, Haadi, and I want to go back to the 2 stars. To have that third option needs to get the basketball. That comes to McKenna Morrison, Shannon McCarthy. They need to cause havoc because everyone knows they are the 2 best players on the team. Cause havoc, kick out, give out, set screens, pick and rolls. All of that stuff needs to happen for this Tanners team. And of course, with the best coach in the state of Massachusetts, Steve Sullivan, I expect all of it to happen.
Yeah, Zeke, especially, I think finding the open space and allowing others to operate. And then if Morrison is able to matriculate the ball wherever she wants, then it's going to open up good shots for the Lady Tanners. And also, looking back at Brooke Tuzelo, I would have been interested to see what would have happened if she was able to have more of an impact in the game against Central Catholic. She fouled out in a sloppy game for both sides, but she was shooting well up to her dismissal.
Yeah. And Brooke Tuzelo in that game, she was very frustrated. She was not in rhythm, but we saw what she could do on that Saturday against Bishop Fenwick. When you move on to this game against Peabody on Thursday, of course, Joey, I, and Haadi on the sidelines will all be here for coverage on that game. But when you look at that Sunday game, she was frustrated. And you go to this Peabody game, how could she impact on the defensive end and offensive end? She could be the reason this team wins a championship.
Someone that also stepped up in the absence of Tuzalo in the remainder of that game, I think, was Kaylee McCarthy. And if she can get to her spots where she is comfortable shooting, I think she can make an impact on the scorecard, very much so.
Yeah, I really think it only takes one player to get hot, and once one player gets hot, then momentum starts to shift, and everyone else feels it, and everyone else starts to get hot. So I think it really only takes one extra player to get that ball rolling in a game like that. But I also wanted to mention something that Coach Sullivan has mentioned throughout the season. That I remember interviewing him once about at a halftime in one game, and he talked about physicality, and that went through all the rest of the games. That sort of message to his team about being as physical as you can. And obviously in the game against a lower seed with Peabody in the first round, that still holds. You still got to be physical. You still got to play fast. You still got to play hard.
And I want to echo off both of you here. And you talk about the three players. We talked about McCarthy. We've talked about Morrison, Tuzlo. We've also talked about Kaylee McCarthy off the bench, but two players that need to play good defense and need to provide options on offense. Riley Morgan, Jalen Cuniff. Riley's played great defense throughout the season, and so has Jalen Cuniff, but both haven't provided as much offense as the other three. If they can provide a spark, as well as Tuzlo, those three could propel this team to the best in the state when you go against teams like Andover, Wellesley, Bishop Feion, Wachusett, Springfield Central. All these teams have these third, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth options. Can Woburn find those for the playoffs, Joey?
Yeah, Zeke, and another thing I want to talk about before we wrap up, playoff basketball has a different atmosphere and aura about it, and something that I think is very important in playoff basketball is experience. Do you expect the rotation to be slimmed down at all at any point to maximize the experience that's out on the court?
Yeah, I do expect that. I mean, Steve Sullivan, he uses a ton of subs when he's playing teams with Kaylee McCarthy and Alina Ayanian. But I don't think he's going to use that many. We've seen Jasmine Morgan, Kaylee McCarthy being the first to come off the bench. Maybe he'll go to the freshman Alina Ayanian with obviously no playoff experience. But if there's a question whether he'll go even deeper in that bench, we'll just have to see in that first game, because that's going to dwindle down throughout the playoffs, Joey.
Yeah, Zeke, and I think also the experience is going to be major, and the crowd is also going to be a big portion of this game. The Tanners at the 4 seed are going to have home court advantage up until the state semifinal if they can make it that far.
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about the aura and the atmosphere of a postseason. That's why I mentioned how the Comcast tournament was sort of like a precursor to that, because this is sort of small, but this was the first games they played where both the bleachers were down on both sides. You had fans around you on all sides, and that could actually, believe it or not, factor into a player's play. But just being able to feel that aura, like you said, it's unlike anything else, especially in the sport of basketball.
Yeah, Haadi, I definitely think that the Comcast tournament prepared the Lady Tanners as best they can, and I know they'll be ready to come out and play Thursday night against Peabody. And Haadi, I know you caught up with one half of that dynamic duo for the Lady Tanners and Shannon McCarthy.
All right, Shannon, great to be with you here today. Congratulations on making this postseason tournament, and I know coming off, I think, 50 straight wins in the Middle Six League over the last 3 years is quite an impressive feat. I wanted to ask you about, unfortunately there was 2 losses in the Comcast tournament, but I want to ask you about how that sort of postseason feel, it gave you a feel of what the postseason might feel like in the Comcast tournament. How did that, think it prepared you for these upcoming games in the postseason?
Well, I mean, the Middle Six League is obviously very strong, but just those teams in the Comcast really just gave us like a little hint of what it's going to be like in the tournament. I think that it's going to help us in the future, so we can learn from our mistakes, because obviously Woburn's never won the Comcast tournament. Last year, Feion went 0-2 in the tournament and made it to the state championship, so we can learn from our mistakes. So.
Yeah, so I want to ask you more specifically about the postseason itself. So you're going to be playing the winner of the Peabody Veterans versus Beverly game tonight. Are you going to go to that game?
Yes, I am. I'm going with my cousins.
All right, and so is there anything you know about those teams? Anything you already have sort of an idea about what they're like?
We played Peabody, I think, last year and maybe freshman year, I forget. But they have a really good big, and they have a couple of girls who are all related on the team who are shooters. And Beverly, I know one of the girls, she's a point guard, and I think she's the only main player. But we're going to go tonight to see if there's more information.
Okay, that's great. And I have one more question about how you think the coaching has been this entire season so far.
I think it's been really good. Coach Sullivan's really great with the plays and stuff. When I go to him about film and stuff, he lets me help him with some plays. I give him plays, he gives me stuff. He's a very good coach, very positive. He's never negative unless you really need it, and even when he is, it's kind of like a pick me up, So I think it's good.
All right, that's going to be it for today. But thank you, Shannon, for the interview, and we'll go back to Joey.
It's a great time to be a Tanner sports fan. We hope we got you all caught up on the upcoming Tanner playoff action, and stay tuned to Woburn Public Media Center for select playoff coverage.